Alliances are a brilliant thing, and this vehicle right here, the Toyota Starlet Cross, is a good example of that. And I'm going to address this now because I know it's going to come up in the comments. Yes, this is the mechanical sibling to the Suzuki Fronx. They in fact even come out of the same factory. But this is a really good car, and I'm going to explain why. My name's Taye. Let's get into the review. So let's chat styling quickly for this vehicle. Now, while the Starlet is the more urban curbside vehicle, this is more the outdoorsy adventurer type, as evidenced by its crossover styling cues, such as the body cladding, the bolstered fenders, which give it a more muscular stance, and one of the most obvious things, the ground clearance. This is 170 millimeters off the ground. And you got other features as well. Look at it, it's actually a really good looking silhouette. It still has the recognizable Starlet look, but it's definitely made for the outdoors. I quite like the front end, which has these LED headlights and these daytime running lights over here. If you look a little bit closer and you squint a little bit, it looks like RoboCop's helmet. Now you can't unsee it.
Stay out of trouble.
Now, my criticisms in terms of styling stretch to the wheels, for example. Now, these 16 inches right here, they're good 5-spokers, diamond cut and all, but when you look a little bit closer to where the lug nut holes are drilled, it messes with the symmetry a little bit and kind of gets to my OCD a little, but you know, look at it from far away, it's a pretty decent wheel. And finally, the roof rails. And I think there's a little bit of a missed opportunity here in the sense that if there were anchor points here, you could actually mount roof rails to this car. You can get a tow bar as an accessory, but roof racks, think about it for a second. Despite that, this is a rather fetching car. It's going to look good off the beaten path and in an urban curbside. What do you reckon? Come a little bit closer, and welcome to the Starlet Cross's interior. Now, this is pretty much the same format as the Starlet, but with a few differences to make the Starlet Cross unique. As you can see here, you got more mauve and onyx colored plastics also to complement the silver trim here. Now, it's not my personal pick color-wise. I wish we had a few more options in that instance, but it adds vibrance into what is otherwise a budget car interior. How well is it put together? I think it's actually done pretty well. I mean, in some areas where if you really look hard, you can see, okay, there's some casting marks and all that from the manufacturing process, but where it matters, this car looks good and feels good as well. Such as this. We have a leather wrapped steering wheel. We've got fabric seats with the aforementioned mauve coloring in the inserts here. And also, when we talk about specification with this is where the Starlet Cross also really shines. There's a slew of creature comforts in here. We have, at least in the XR variant, this 9-inch infotainment touchscreen. Now, it's the same format as and user interface, let me say, as the Suzuki variants, but it's still a pretty decent audio system within this price range. But one other key thing in this vehicle is you have this heads-up display. Where else have you seen that in this budget range? Where else? You also have this 4.2 TFT info screen here just to tell you fuel economy and other options that you can check out over here within the instrument cluster. And you got digital climate control with rear air vents. It's also got USB ports too. This car is comprehensively equipped. Where it does falter a little bit though is in the roominess of it. Now, taller individuals may suffer a little bit. Look, I'm a 174 centimeter man. And yeah, if you minus the afro over here, there's not a whole lot of headroom, but you do have a driver adjustable front seat. The rear, it could do with a little bit more headroom, but despite that, I think your occupants are going to be pretty comfortable in this vehicle, and even the little ones as well, because there's ISOFIX in the back. But enough gab, let's go drive. You find me piloting the Toyota Starlet Cross. Now, what is powering this car exactly? It's the pretty ubiquitous 1.5 litre 4-cylinder naturally aspirated engine. It makes 77 kilowatts and 138 Newton meters, and the power is sent to the front wheels. Now, you have the choice of either a 5-speed manual or, in this variant, a 4-speed torque converter automatic. Now, the 1.5 litre engine in this vehicle, it's found in very many of the Toyota Suzuki Alliance vehicles, such as the Fronx, the Starlet, the Baleno, and what have you. And for good reason. This is actually a really good motor. It's very revvy, and the key thing is it's fuel efficient. How fuel efficient are we talking? So the claimed consumption for this vehicle is 5.8 liters per 100 Ks. Now in the auto variant at least, it's a bit heavier on the juice. Now I've been getting in the higher 6s for this vehicle. But puttering about in town, I think the 4-speed automatic is perfectly adequate for just chilling in traffic and just stop and go pretty much. The thing is, where it falters though is on the open road. Let me paint a scenario for you. So let's say you're on the highway and you want to do 120 Ks per hour and you want to turn on the cruise control, which cruise control is available across the range for this vehicle. So 120 Ks an hour, it will fare fine. It's really not going to give you any fuss in particular. It's just when you approach a hill, the automatic has to kick down just to try and keep within the power band because, like I said, this vehicle likes to be revved. And as a result, you see yourself revving up to 4,000 RPM until you've overcome the hill and then you shift into a higher gear. Now, this is where I feel the Starlet Cross could have benefited from an extra cog, making it a 5-speed automatic. Like, make no mistake, the way this 4-speed shifts up and all that, I think it's perfectly good. But just the extra cog will make a difference, especially with shorter gear ratios, so you can really harness that power band a little bit better. The manual variants, that manual 5-speed gearbox is a peach of note, I must say, and it harnesses the power very well. Dare I say this? Maybe a CVT automatic would have worked. Yes, I said that. It would have worked in this instance perfectly fine, I reckon. Despite that, I feel the drivetrain as a whole is pleasurable to pilot. Like now, I'm on a hill, and a little bit of lunchtime congestion, and the Starlet Cross doesn't complain. And this is where everything else also ties in. The way the suspension and roll holding for this car is, it's so well tuned for this vehicle. Yes, you do have the higher ground clearance and you also have slightly higher profile tires compared to the normal Starlet. But this vehicle doesn't feel devoid of feeling. You get good feedback when you throw it around in an urban setting and even when you go on the open roads and that. Now, because of its short and stout nature and its short overhangs, this vehicle likes to handle. Now, if I could describe this in maybe 2 words, I'd say it's taut but also cushy. Taut in the sense that the steering wheel feels tight, but it's also light enough that you can chuck it about when you're going to be parking at your favorite shopping mall. And even when you're throwing the vehicle about, it's got this reassurance to it. And it's not just, feels like you're playing with a toy steering wheel pretty much. And even though it is higher than the normal Starlet, this vehicle still handles. It's still got its legs, definitely. It's pretty agile, actually. And when you pair all of this, the decent powertrain, the really good suspension and road holding, and pair that with the technology and the slew of creature comforts, this vehicle ties together in such a cohesive little bow that you sit there and you think, this is such good value for money. Do you really have to get the XR? I mean, it's completely up to you if you want the 9-inch infotainment, the heads-up display, more courtesy lights and such. But you'd also be fine with the XS as well, I reckon. I mean, there's a term that was used to describe cars back in the 90s when I was flipping through AutoTrader magazines and all that. That term was full house. I'm sure the viewing audience here will remember that term very well. And that's what this car basically is. Do you really need anything else? I mean, there could be some optional extras, which could be bespoke to Toyota in this instance. But all in, this is such a good car, and for what it's offering, do you really find yourself wanting more? That's one thing I'll say. Good on this car for striking the Goldilocks medium. There's such a good balance. Whereas I feel with a bunch of other manufacturers, they kind of distract you with, oh, the best technology in the world and so on and so forth. But it falters in very many areas, especially where it matters, such as maybe the powertrain, how the vehicle drives and feels and all that in between. And I really have to give praise to this vehicle for this because it strikes that Goldilocks medium so well. Is it perfect? No, it's definitely got its faults, but it's certainly up there.
When we look at safety for this vehicle, we don't have official NCAP ratings as of yet, the time of recording this video, but here's the kind of safety equipment you get with this vehicle, at least in this variant. And again, it comes comprehensively equipped. Now, I quite like this vehicle. I think Toyota and Suzuki struck a nice Goldilocks medium where the foundations are really good and they added the technology and the creature comforts on top to create a cohesive driving experience. Yes, the Starlet Cross in this variant commands a slightly higher premium compared to the top-range Suzuki France, at 368,500 rands. Starlet Cross could have been a little bit more bespoke in that respect to command that slightly higher premium, but it's still a good car nonetheless. But anyways, that's it for the moment. If you like this video, please do the YouTube thing and like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss another AutoTrader SA video, because we got some tasty things coming up. Anyways, that's it for now. Take care of yourselves.